What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, Schiller show today. But let's get right into it. Orlando Magic extend Paolo Banchero on a big extension, rookie scale extension. I don't see too many of these last few years where we got one right now. Broke yesterday. Paolo Banchero signs a 5-year extension with the Orlando Magic. It in base value is worth $239 million, just over 239 million, 239.2 million. If he wins, MVP is named to an All NBA team or wins Defensive Player of the Year in his upcoming season. The contract balloons to $287 million. So right now the breakdown is this is what it is per year. It kicks in 2 seasons from now, so this year it'll be he'll be still on that rookie deal, and then the max extension kicks in 27 season, 41.2 million, 44.5 million, 47.8 million, 51.1 million, 54.4 million. And again, if he wins MVP, is named All NBA or wins for the Player of the Year this year, then the contract would increase by 30%. Which it would make it upon a per year basis, 49.5 million, 53.4, 7.4, 61.3 million, and 65.3 million. So he got a huge deal. Keep in mind this is the first year is actually 25% of the projected cap in 27. I believe the cap's going up. And it's the first rookie max extension to include a player option since 2021. That was Trey and Luka. So I'm not exactly sure what that player option is. I'll think towards the end of the deal, maybe 2030, 2031. But big deal for Paolo. Again, NBA contracts are out of control. This is a guy who is, not in the playoff series yet, but he's been absolutely outstanding. He's been really underrated. This is a guy, as a rookie 2 years ago, he averaged 20, almost 7 rebounds, and shot 42% from the field. Was rookie of the year 2 years ago. A shot averaged 22, 6, almost 7, more than 5 assists. Was great in that playoff series. If Franz Wagner gave them anything in that first round playoff series against Cleveland 2 years ago, they would have won that series in that game 7. He was an all-star this past year. Actually had the best statistical season of his career. Averaged 25, almost 26 points. Added 7 rebounds as well as 4 assists. Three-point shot still hasn't really come along. Only a 32% three-point shooter last year as well as for his career. But did shoot 45% from the field all these last 2 years. Did have a lot of injuries this past year. Only played 46 games. Had that oblique injury, I believe it was. But when this guy's been healthy, which outside of this past year, he's only missed 8 games his first 2 seasons. He's a great player, still only going to be 23 years old. And although that's a big number, your base value 237 million could get up to 287 if he wins All NBA. We're gonna get a mic request here. It's gonna be Randy Milton. We haven't talked to Randy in a little while. Of course, I've been on his program in the past, and he's gonna hop on mine. So, Randy, what's going on today?
Hey, Jake, great to hear your voice again. Things are good over my way, I suppose. How are things
Yeah,
with you, man?
I've been good. Yeah, it's been very hot here. I'm not sure if it's up north by you in Toronto, if you've had the big numbers in the temperatures, but it's very hot today.
Yeah, no, it's pretty comfortable today. I mean,
Mm.
the last couple of days, it's been I guess Fahrenheit wise, it's been like what 90-ish degrees.
That's what
So
it is today here.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah, we're feeling it. We're feeling
I
it
can
for sure.
imagine.
But hey, we can't complain about this weather because
Nope.
February is going to roll around and it's going to be minus whatever the godly temperature will be.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no, I mean, hey, regarding sports, the Jays are kind of
They're
coming into
rolling
their
8
own.
in a row, man. They're rolling first place.
Yeah, they're in first place, and the Yankees they're kind of free falling there, and
Yep.
Tampa's free falling. I mean, yeah, no, it's some hopeful times up my way.
For sure, yeah, they've been playing really well. I didn't expect them to play this well. I'm not sure about you. I think they'd be horrible, but I thought they'd kind of be a team that maybe be able to compete for a bit. Probably will hover around 500, and that's about it. But it's weird. Going into the year, I thought their pitching was really strong, but their offensively they were lacking. It's kind of been the opposite. They've actually been very good offensively, but uh, they could use another piece or two on their staff. But overall, they're playing great baseball right now. I think they're 12 or 13 games over 500. They're 3 or 4 games up on the Yanks, I believe, and They're playing great, and they're in first place as we head into the All-Star break, which is starts next week.
I gotta say though, Jake. I mean, honestly, and I know this is filled with hindsight, but I didn't think Toronto had that bad a team
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
you said their pitching was what it was, and last year, of course, Bichette really struggled, and I mean, it's kind of hit and miss with regards to Vladdy.
Yeah.
You know, definitely had some decent hopes on Addison Barger.
Yeah.
Nobody thought that he would be thinking like this, let alone George Springer. I mean,
Yeah, he's finally the guy that they signed. Took him a few years, but yeah.
Yeah, it did take him a while, but I mean, nobody thought that Springer would have this renaissance like he's having now, and people are wondering how he got snubbed in the All-Star
That
game.
was ridiculous. A couple of guys got snubbed.
Yeah. But Alejandro Kirk,
Yeah.
he's headed to the All-Star game as well.
Hitting 300.
So. Yeah, I mean, hey, hopefully trying to keep this momentum going. I mean, it's exciting times. Like when the Jays are rolling, the Blue Jays they take over the sports scene in the summer in the city, let alone the country.
Absolutely, yeah. You got the home country advantage, and they're playing really well. And I'm interested to see what they do at the trade deadline. You got that coming up in a few weeks. To me, they're a team. If they are aggressive and make the right moves, they could put themselves in a really good position to have a deep playoff run. Because I can imagine the Yankees do this every year under Aaron Boone. They have a lot of trouble in the summertime. So if they can really put a dent in this AL East lead with making moves at the trade deadline, they could go into October on a really high note.
There was an expectation from Santander. He's been hurt,
right?
And I mean, what do they really need? Obviously, they don't have the perfect team. I mean, what team really does other than the Dodgers? But you have to think that they are definitely going to be buyers, and
For sure.
hey, I don't know if anybody thought that they'd be this far ahead of first place, let alone first place period. But this is the start that they've had, and we'll definitely take it.
Yeah, they're playing really good baseball. We got the All-Star break next week. We got the trade deadline in about 3 weeks. So we're heading into the back half of the season. Obviously, it's a long season in baseball. You still got probably a solid 70 games left at this point. But per team. But Blue Jays are playing as well as you possibly can. They're the hottest team in baseball, and that certainly stands for something. And if they can bring in a couple of impact players at the deadline, that could be a legit championship contender, if you ask me.
Absolutely, and we are all reminded, especially around here, with 2015. The team was under 500. They made trades with to pick up David Price, to pick up Troy Tulowitzki, and then they just completely ran it. Losing out to Kansas City in the playoffs, and
that was the backflip year. If Joey Bats.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Jake, I got to tell you, I was at game 2.
Oh, okay.
Of that series, and they were playing Texas, of course, and they lost in extra innings, and the electricity of that crowd, Jake. I mean,
I can imagine.
It reminded me so much of those World Series years, 30 plus years ago. Like I told you, I mean, there's a huge appreciation for Blue Jays baseball, and it just gets railroaded so much because the Jays are in the same division as the Red Sox and the Yankees, and now the Red Sox, God only knows what kind of future they're going to have. And hey, I mean, the Yankees, yeah, sure, they could make a big splash at some point, and because it is the Yankees, they have more resources than anybody has in sports.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the time to capitalize, and Jays fans are really excited.
I can imagine it's a great time. I know they've had a couple of tough off seasons. You thought you had Ohtani, then you didn't. You thought you had Soto, and then you didn't. and just you missed out on some other bigger names, whether it be Cody Bellinger, Pete Alonso, guys you thought you had a shot at getting and didn't happen. And obviously, it's really tough your last year with injuries and guys not playing to the back of the baseball card. And you thought, all right, well, at the very least, win 90 games and make the playoffs again. You end up winning 70 something games, whatever it was. You don't really get within even 3 weeks of the playoffs. And then this year, I'm not sure how, what the expectations were. They couldn't have been that high. And, if I'm sure if I told you, Randy, oh, yeah, on July 8th, you're going to be in first place. And I think she would have been like, hallelujah. To basketball, let me ask you, Randy, what are your expectations for the Toronto Raptors? I know they had I know they let go of Masai Ujiri right after the draft, which was very surprising.
Yeah, surprising. Was it needed? Maybe. Obviously, Masai Ujiri has created a legacy that nobody has, very few has in basketball in Toronto, in Canada. And, you got to think about, like, let's say that they made the trade for Kawhi Leonard and just made the finals. He would have been fired a long time ago.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Sure. And, I've always said this from the beginning that the Toronto Raptors could not have won the championship at a worse time because that 1920 season, COVID happens.
Yeah.
The following year, they play in Tampa. What organization could have recovered? No team could have recovered like that. And they do have a foundation. I think that, a lot of people forget that Brandon Ingram is a Toronto Raptor. And between Barrett and Barnes and Quickly, if Quickly has a healthy season, that's a really, really solid 4. I do think that they are weak at 5. This kid that they drafted, Colin Murphy Boyles, like he seems to have a big rebounding presence. I mean, he's not physically tall, but maybe he does bang and gets his elbows dirty. So, is Murray Boyles going to be a difference maker? Probably not. But I think that there is a level of optimism here. I mean, the East is wide open.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's taking a step back. Boston's taking a step back.
Yeah.
And, I'm really intrigued about teams like the Knicks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And, I mean, hey, Cleveland had such a strong year. They went out early. But, Indiana took a step back. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the East. I think Toronto is in a decent position.
The future definitely looks bright. They've made a lot of moves last few years. You could get back all the picks for Pascal Siakam. You get back Barrett and Quickly for OG Anunoby. You've drafted a bunch of guys like Gravy Dick, and obviously you make the trade for Ingram last year. So they have a lot there. To me, they still need someone to tie that all together because your number one scoring option is probably either Brandon Ingram or Scotty Barnes. Those guys to me are like a good third option. Maybe Scotty Barnes reaches another level this year. I know he's had some injuries, but also is a great athlete and can still score a bit and is a really good defensively. So it's a team that their ceiling is probably a 5 or 6 seed in the East, something like that. You mentioned the East is completely wide open. Halliburton's not going to play for Indiana this year. They lose Miles Turner. The Bucks, who weren't even a threat anyway, are going to get even worse. Boston's also taking a step back. So top half of that Eastern Conference isn't all that great, and the back half is ugly. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot of young players there. I'm not sure if there's any more moves to be made. I know on your show we talked about, is there a chance to go after Giannis? I haven't really heard their name much in those sweepstakes. Well, we haven't really heard much at all, to be honest. I think part of it is like, does he really want to leave? The Bucks definitely don't want to trade him. However, I'm not really sure really what their options are at this point. But I can see them weighing it out one more year, seeing if, any of these younger guys they have on their bench give them something. And if not, they're like, all right, we screwed this thing up. Let's send this guy somewhere else. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do for sure. Because if they can stay healthy, it's a talented team and the East is wide open. I guess you never know.
Yeah, I think, I'm really reminded all those years ago when David Robinson lost pretty much an entire season with the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs, uh, drafted first overall. They got Tim Duncan, and right away won a championship and had just such an incredible legacy. I mean, really, it lasted until just a couple of years ago. And, so we're talking about a 20-year stretch for San Antonio. And it looks like that they're on the right track, obviously, with Victor Wembanyama. I'm really wondering, how much of an overreaction teams like Boston and Milwaukee are going through. Okay, so you cut Damian Lillard in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Maybe Giannis takes a step back, and maybe they get a high pick for next year. Same with Boston. Now if Giannis takes and say Jaylen Brown takes the team on their shoulders, and maybe they finish in the bottom half of the playoffs. Maybe they're not doing themselves any favors, but I mean, you can't overhaul a team. If I'm Indiana, you can't overhaul a season because you lose your star. I think that, maybe they take a step back, and I mean, you probably have a better idea on who may be coming up next year in the next year's NBA draft. But do they have a game changer that could go top 3 that could, bring some good fortune to those teams who lost their key players? I mean, I find it incredible that a team like Milwaukee has cut Damian Lillard, is potentially thinking trading Giannis. Now they have absolutely nothing, and then they're going to start from scratch all over again. I mean, I just don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, with Milwaukee, I do think that they should trade him because they have no way to improve that team. The team outside of Giannis is not very good. Miles Turner's a good player who you were able to sign. However, now you're paying Damian Lillard $22 million a year for the next 5 years. You had to stretch his salary out. Most of that team isn't good. You don't really have many draft picks. Don't really have a ton of cap space. So I don't know what you're supposed to do. And also, I just kind of feel bad for Giannis because that's an incredible player. I mean, he obviously got his championship there, but he still has a second half of his career to go. And I don't think he deserves to rot it in Milwaukee. I would think at some point, if he has the ability to hit the open market in a year or two, he'd at least see what's out there. I mean, the Bucks can still pay him the most amount of money, but unless he really loves it, like, you know what, I got my championship. I love it here. I'm going to stay here. But I don't know. You put that guy on the really any team, he makes them significantly better. With Boston, they're just financially crippled the second apron, so the team kind of had to come apart. Indiana, they're in a bit of a different situation. I'm surprised they ain't re-signed Miles Turner. My recommendation was basically to run it back, just do the best you can. And then next year, you get Halliburton back, you still have a pretty solid window to win a championship. With Turner, maybe he gets a little cloudier. I know you have Isaiah Jackson coming back because he got off the Achilles. He's a pretty good center, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, they do have a really good young group there with Siakam and Aaron Nemhard and Benedict Mulford and all those guys. So they're still an okay team for this year, but obviously you're going to take a step back without Halliburton. But we'll just get Halliburton back next year. It'll be interesting to see if they could still be in that championship window now that Miles Turner is playing in Milwaukee.
I gotta say though, like when I see Giannis, I just see a lot of Mike Trout. I mean, I mean, in the sense that Mike Trout, from my vantage point, has never wanted to leave Anaheim, and has been there his entire career. Now, I don't think he's ever won a playoff game.
Not many, at least.
Yeah, and with Giannis, his heart just seems to beat Milwaukee. This is just a hunch. I just think that the media is just really blowing this up into something that they could potentially talk about. And yeah, maybe you could get a couple of picks and a couple of serviceable pieces in Milwaukee. Is it enough to maybe make them a play-in team, a low seed playoff team? Maybe. But when you have a franchise game changer like Giannis, who seems to think nothing but the loyalty and dedication to that franchise, and that franchise being Milwaukee, uh, I would probably do everything possible to keep that core together. And I mean, I just don't. I'd still be shocked if Giannis is traded to whoever. Uh, you trade him to a team like Toronto. You're not going to have a trade with Giannis that doesn't include Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
You're going to have to add more. And then, okay, so now Milwaukee needs a point guard. Perhaps they include quickly in the trade. So then Toronto, I mean, they're not going to be a contender. I mean, yeah, sure, you have Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick, but you lose too many pieces.
Yeah.
They're just going to be pretty much back where they started from. So uh, you're going to have to ask the world for a guy like Giannis. And what team, maybe Oklahoma City, but do they really want to give up that core?
Yeah.
It worked out pretty decently last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just don't know what team could trade for Giannis and then be a contender right away, because you have to give so much up to get him in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point. You see the way a lot of these championship teams have been built in recent years. It's clear, you have one really good, one star, really like a Tyrese Halliburton or a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then it's better off to have, a bunch of really good role players and have depth and have guys that can defend, opposed to just trying to stack the deck with three guys and give up all your draft picks and spend all your money on three guys. That doesn't work. Look at Phoenix. Look at what Brooklyn tried multiple times. It just doesn't work anymore. Okay, so good.
Yeah, but then you have a team like the Bucks who won that championship, and say whatever you want about Chris Middleton, but he wasn't an elite level player. I guess maybe I'm contradicting myself in the sense that you have some sort of team and some decent play. Obviously, when you have like a Bobby Portis, you have a Jrue Holiday, you have those role players that you don't need a big three.
Yeah.
But trade Giannis to Miami. They got Norman Powell, but you're probably going to have to send Bam Adebayo back to Milwaukee. Is that gonna be enough? You're probably gonna have to include Tyler Hero and a bunch of picks. So I don't know. It's fascinating. I think that in the end, I think because Giannis's value is so high, I think that's a detriment to, and I think that's going to be a huge problem, because Milwaukee is going to rightfully so want so much in order to trade Giannis.
Yeah, and then you see what's been going on in the league. You see Mikal Bridges goes for 5 first-round picks. Desmond Bane goes for 4 first-round picks. From the Bucks, I'm like, give me 7 or 8 for Giannis if those dudes are going for 4 or 5. So they're gonna probably want more picks back than players. However, you're obviously with the second April gonna have to match up the salaries. A team like Miami really can't do the trade because now Giannis is basically in the same situation where it's kind of just him out there. Like you said, Bam is in that trade, Tyler Hero's in that trade. And then so you're right. Yes, would he be the best player on any team? Yeah, the guy's a top 5 player in basketball, but what team is suited to go on a deep playoff run in today's NBA because of how much you're going to give up? That's something you have to look out for too. And I'm not sure what team is. And maybe you're right. Maybe he's a guy who, he's big on loyalty and wants to stay in Milwaukee. And I do think he wants to stay there, but his contract is getting a little bit close. And Milwaukee's lost in the first round 3 years in a row. And he thinks he can go somewhere, still get a huge deal, and be in a better situation and pick up another championship ring or two and still leave a great legacy. If I'm him, I might dip too, because this is the same front office that, decided you had a guy in Drew Holiday, who was a huge part of your championship team, and you traded him for Damian Lillard. And then, Chris Milton, yes, the guy was getting older and injuries were piling up, but you just sent them to Washington for Kyle freaking Kuzma. And because, you had Giannis and Dame making so much money, Giannis makes a lot of sense. Dame at his point in his career, I would argue, not so much. You were unable to re-sign Brook Lopez this summer. You had to trade away Pat Connaughton. You had to let go of Damian Lillard just to sign Miles Turner. Which to me, Brian Windhorst on ESPN made a funny analogy. He says the Bucks cutting Damian Lillard and structuring his salary to sign Miles Turner is like mortgaging your mortgage to buy a sports car. So they're in a very exactly. Better be a nice one. But yeah, they're in a tough situation. I just don't know what they're supposed to do. On top of their front office isn't exactly an elite front office. I just don't think they have the assets to improve a team. So yes, if you have a guy like that, you want to do anything you can to keep him and build around him. I just don't think with the cap rules in today's league, I don't think you physically can. So I think you almost have to trade him to even give yourself a chance to win a championship in the future.
Yeah, perhaps. Because I mean, what team has so much draft capital other than Oklahoma City that could trade for this guy? It'll be something to see. Personally, and who knows, maybe is it really the worst situation? I don't know how many years Giannis has left on his contract, but is it possible that he just stays there, rides it out, and then Milwaukee loses him to free agency? I mean, that would just be a death nail to that franchise. But or maybe Giannis will do everything possible to stay and ride it out in Milwaukee. Like how close is Milwaukee? Are they one piece away? You trade him anywhere else. I mean, is he really that much closer to a contending team? I mean, look at hockey and everything that went on with the Panthers. I mean, honestly, if I had money, I was going to. I mentioned on the Discord thread that we were on. I believe that Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad.
Yeah,
I had every reason to believe that they were going to stay because why would they want to leave?
Exactly.
And it's not always about big dollars. I mean, hell, Stan Bennett, he just won, and Ekblad won their second cup in a row.
Yeah.
Marchand obviously won a second cup period. They don't pay state tax.
Yeah, exactly.
They live in one of the most glamorous cities, dare I say, in the world.
Yeah.
And they live a life of anonymity. There isn't a better situation than Miami. And hey, we're seeing it maybe Mitch Marner going to another non-state tax
team in Nevada, in Vegas,
Golden Knights. I mean, Jake, I got to tell you, there was one video where Marner was beaming from ear to ear, putting that Golden Knights jersey on. And as a Leaf fan, it broke my heart. But as an individual, I'm like, I ain't surprised.
If you gave me $96 million, I'd be pretty happy too.
For sure. You're going to a top contender. You're going to such an exciting city in Vegas, and they have a real heartbeat to that hockey team. So it's I don't know where I'm going with this point of view, but whatever. I mean, I guess honestly, in the end, Giannis may have different reasons than say those hockey players to stay in Milwaukee. I don't see him leaving. Period.
He seems like a loyalty guy. I mean, it's a little different. It's a little different in the NBA today. Guys, a lot of times they tend to jump. I mean, how many guys are like truly loyal to their teams and it's worked out for them? Stephen Curry. Outside of him, in today's NBA have been a lot. Like Kevin Durant certainly isn't loyal. LeBron James certainly isn't loyal. So there isn't a whole lot of them. Giannis seems like a guy who wants to ride it out and do it the right way and the hard way. And he got his ring already. He won in 2021. He doesn't have to worry about going down. It's like, oh, if only that guy got a ring, you know. But so he already has his championship. But it's a guy who's not even that old. If in 2 years, if he's able to hit the market, I would think he would at least see what's out there. But I think I'm not sure if he'll ever ask out. I don't see him ever asking out. I know he said like he's thinking about it now. It's like the first off season where he's seriously like maybe uh like he would do it, but he hasn't pulled the trigger yet. I know the Dame moved and was not his favorite, but I could see Milwaukee in the next year as being like there's nothing we can do. We have to trade him or we're gonna risk losing him and we can't build a team around him.
I think one thing as well is that I think Giannis is the guy that is really cognizant of what the NBA community thinks about him in the sense that I think that he does really take to heart, like the LeBrons leaving for Los Angeles and Kevin Durant moving from place to place to place. Let's say, for example, that he signs a free agent ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that Giannis is going to feel the criticism if he, say, goes to the Lakers and he teams up with Luka Doncic. I think that there is something about if, say, Giannis goes to the New York Knicks or one of those, highfalutin teams. Let's say he goes to a team like the Clippers. Maybe it's not as much criticism there, but I think Giannis is very aware of that, and rightly or wrongly, I think there is a reluctance for a guy like Giannis to go to one of those teams to ring chase. We do think of Kevin Durant a little differently. Yes, he won 2 MVP, Finals MVPs, and 2 championships, but I mean he went to that Golden State team to take a backseat to Steph Curry. So, I think that I think Giannis, and he said it in his press conference itself when he won his championship, is that, he stayed. He created something. He didn't go from A to B, and I think that that's going to remain his mindset for the rest of his career.
It's very possible. That seems like a loyal guy, and we're on talking to Jake, talking to Randy Milton about Giannis and some other things. But still small season left. It's only we're going into the second week in July, so we're just coming out of July 4th weekend. So there's still time for him to get moved. We still have some summer left. However, it's probably leaning towards him staying at least for this year. I would think.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Randy. So next topic I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about some of the off-season moves in the NFL. I'm going to give out the grades for the AFC East teams and then talk some wrestling. You're welcome to stay on or dip or listen in. That's completely up to you.
I do have to get going. I saw that you were coming on. I definitely wanted to say hello and
thank you.
We could, hopefully we could get you on a roundtable one of these days soon.
Absolutely, Randy. Let's definitely do that. Thanks for tuning in. You're welcome anytime, and I'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Thanks, Jake.
That was Randy. Always good to talk to him. But moving forward, going to do my AFC East off-season grades. I'm going to start doing this for each division going forward. I know we are getting really close to really get into the hard-hitting training camp, and then the preseason will sneak up on us before we know it. So we'll start on the AFC East. I'm giving the New England Patriots an A-. They got the highest mark of any team in the division. Can't stand them, but they did a great job. They add to the offensive line. You add 2 good tackles. You sign Morgan Moses, a solid veteran right tackle. Really good leader. You draft Will Campbell, who I think will be a great left tackle, with the 4th pick in the draft. You also you had a really good draft. You draft what was his name, Jacob Wilson, whatever his name is, Jacob something. No, excuse me, Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia, in the 4th round. To probably at least eventually take over starting center roles. Right now, you have Cole Strange there, guy who's hurt a lot. He's more of a guard than a center. And you had Stephon Diggs, who getting a little older, coming off of the injury, maybe giving him, what was it, 21 or 22 million was a little much. I know there was some drama with him, that he was, hanging out on a boat with a lot of different ladies. Apparently, he was dating Cardi B, the singer, whatever you want to call her. Uh, it was causing a bit of drama, but then next day he ended up showing up. Seems like that's kind of been put to bed. And they also had a lot of pieces on defense. You had Howard Landry. Let's keep in mind, obviously, Mike Vrabel is now the coach there. Landry had his best years under Vrabel in Tennessee when he was the coach there. So he's a good pass rusher that you had. You had a good linebacker with Robert Spillane. You have Milton Williams. You have a huge deal. Super Bowl champion, really good pass rusher from the middle of a defense. You add a very good cornerman, Carlton Davis. Him and Gonzo should be a lot of fun. Marcus Epps is decent safety that you sign. You didn't lose anything too bad. Jonathan Jones, who's a good slot corner, is the guy you lose, but it should still be fun because you have one of the best corner duos with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis probably on paper. Devon Gotcha, he's Milton Williams, obviously a major upgrade over him. Dietrich Wife was more of a depth piece. So Alfie drafted Drake May last year, thought overall I think he's got a chance to be a really good quarterback, and now he's got much better supporting cast, much better coaching staff. So they did a really good job. I thought they could have added one more receiver, but they did draft Kyle Williams in the 3rd round. I'm not sure how high he's going to end up grading out, but I thought they could have had one more better receiver. Although now they kind of have a situation where they're going to have to cut a couple of guys because they have like 7 or 8 guys on their roster, maybe even 9 guys who you legitimately belong on a roster, but you're only going to keep 6 or 7 of them. So we'll see what happens, but they did a really good job overall. The Buffalo Bills, I'm going to give them a B. So I like the Joey Bosa move. He's a good pass rusher. He's getting a little older, and he's had a lot of injuries recently, and isn't quite the same player, but he's still a good edge rusher when healthy. It's a 1-year deal. I think it's definitely worth a try. I like them taking Maxwell Harrison. You get him in the draft. They really need another good cover corner, which I think they get. I think he's a very much sure he'll end up being more so in the slot. But even if so, you did lose Rozo Douglas, who's a very good slot, who's once was a good outside corner who could also play the slot, isn't quite anymore. And you add some depth as well. Larry Ogunhobi is not a bad guy to have, on your defensive line. You bring back Dane Jackson to help, for depth in the secondary. Tre'Davious White's the guy you bring back, a guy who was an All-Pro a bunch of years ago. Injuries have kind of killed him in recent years, but for depth, not bad. You haven't re-signed Mark Cooper. He's still available, but I don't really know what the guy you has left. Von Miller, you let go. Again, that's a guy who Hall of Famer for sure, but again, since the torn Achilles, he's kind of been a shell of himself. Matt Collins, who did make some big plays for you last year, you do lose him. He was a legit deep threat for you, but is replaceable. One thing it did not add is a legit receiver for Josh Allen. They have a guy like Josh Allen, just having a couple of solid receivers might be all you need because Allen's obviously a very special player with as talented as he gets in this league at the quarterback position. But Keon Coleman was pretty good as a rookie. Khalil Shakir was good last year. I really thought they should have had like one more big piece on the outside for him. That's the one thing they didn't do, which I thought was a bit of a missed opportunity, which is why they get the B. But they did do some nice things in for agency and in the draft. And no one they lost was that big of a deal. You didn't give up that much for Amari Cooper. He wasn't great for you last year. Rizzo Douglas wasn't great last year. Holmes was replaceable and Von Miller. Outstanding career, Hall of Famer for sure, but he this point his career is at the very end. New York Jets. I'm gonna give them a B minus. They just kind of had enough. I mean, at least this year they didn't just throw money at guys for no reason. They draft started out pretty well. You take Arbon Membu, some overall. I think he's a good fit. They're trying to overhaul the offensive line. I think he's a really good run blocking right tackle. You drafted Fashanu last year. If those two guys play well, the interior line looks pretty good. Just on paper, could actually have a pretty good line. For the first time in many years, Josh Myers, he rolled it for depth. as a backup interior guy. I do like them giving Justin Fields a try. I almost expect it to end super well. The guy just isn't a good passer. He's been very disappointing to his part being a first round pick by the Bears. He's kind of bounced around. Was in Pittsburgh last year, but uh, I'm going to give him one more shot. If they truly have a legit offensive line for him, you reunite him with his college teammate and Garrett Wilson, who's a great receiver. I'm willing to give that a try. Other than that, you lost a lot. I mean, I don't mind trading away Aaron Rodgers. That experiment needs to end. But letting go of Devontae Adams, Devontae's still a really good receiver. You let him go. You lose TJ Reed, who's a really good cover corner. You mentioned Morgan Moses left. He was a good veteran to have in the room. Other than that, I mean, like a son Reddick, he can kick rocks. He caused a lot of drama last year. But guys like Javon Kinlaw and Solomon Thomas, they're not world beaters, but they are key pieces of the D-line rotations that aren't coming back. I don't mind the Andrew Cisco sign was pretty good. He's probably an upgrade over Ashton Davis as a second or third safety. But to go from DJ Reed to Brandon Stevens, it was a little alarming. Stevens was very bad in coverage last year in Baltimore. To me, a major downgrade across from Sauce Gardner, who down most last year did kind of revert back to what he was the previous 2 years after struggling throughout the year. However, his tackling has kind of always left a lot to be desired. Obviously rookie staff coming in. I really wish they had gone out and gotten one more receiver. If you knew you were letting go of Devontae Adams, I get why it was done. You want to get just all Aaron Rodgers' influence out of the building, new regime. But there's still a lot of holes on the roster. The fields are maybe a little more fun to watch, maybe a little harder to game plan for. It should be better defensively. But I really thought adding another receiver would really open up that offense, especially with a guy like Justin Fields who needs weapons, who needs time to throw, and also, although on paper they have a pretty good offensive line, they're still to me one or two bad injuries away from being in the same spot they've been the last bunch of years, which is kind of a shuffling open door off the line, which never ends well. So they kind of had an okay off season to me. The Miami Dolphins get a C minus. They get the lowest grade of any team in the division. Right, they had James Daniels on an interior piece on the offensive line. And Kenneth Grant, I thought that was a bit of a reach in the first round. But got him. I think he should be a good player in the middle of your defense, but I thought there were bigger needs for them to address. And you add a couple of depth pieces like Willie Gay Jr. at the linebacker spot. You still Ashton Davis from the Jets. Maybe he'll help you on the back end a little bit as like a third safety. I mean, I don't really get the Zach Wilson signing. First of all, you gave him $6 million. To me, you drafted Quinn Ewers in the 7th round. I like him taking a flyer on him. He's probably better than Zach Wilson at this point, to be honest. He's played enough college football. And like Westbrook McKinney, just a depth signing. And keep in mind, Dylan Holland's a very good safety who you lose. Calais Campbell, who's at the end of his career, but still a productive defensive lineman to have in your rotation, a good veteran to have. You lose him. Latrell Armstrong is a good left tackle. He retires. You let go of Mostert, who is getting older. Devon Aching's a better player, but that was a good depth piece to have. And you don't have a tight end now because you make that in the trade to trade away Ramsey and John Smith to get Minka Fitzpatrick was a great trade. And however, you don't have a tight end now. You trade away Jonnu, you lose Deron Smythe, so you had to trade for a retired Darren Waller, who hasn't been good in 3 or 4 years. Didn't even play last year. Last time you saw him, he was a clown show with the Giants. Obo's another piece on the outside that you lose. So just it's a team that I thought, you got a guy like Tua who's, undersized, hurt a lot, needs a lot of help. I thought, either you really make it a point to really beef up the offensive line and really add a couple of pieces on the defensive side of the ball, or say, you know what, we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to trade Jalen Ramsey. We're going to trade Tyreek Hill. We're going to trade Jonnu Smith. We're going to just blow this thing up and start over. And, we'll take our lumps of Tua. We'll find a way to move him in a year or two. Maybe hopefully Quinn Ewers turned into something, which I think is not impossible. He could be an average starter in the NFL, but we did have a down year last year at Texas. And but they kind of didn't really pick a direction. I think this regime has done a lot of damage with McDaniel and Greer to the franchise. And I expect them to be in their last year in power unless something really special happens, which I don't see happening. And I think the Dolphins did a very good job in the offseason by any means. So let's talk Monday Night Raw from last night. So we'll start off with Seth Rollins and his faction. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker coming out, of course. Paul Heyman being referred to as the Oracle. Seth Rollins was about to take the mic from Paul Heyman, and then Braun Breaker intercepts it, and he cuts a promo on Sami Zayn, and then Bronson Reed cuts a promo on Jey Uso. Then Rollins took a turn, and obviously Heyman cut a promo, which was very funny. Dude started speaking Spanish. Part of me was like, was Seth Rollins genuinely asking Braun Breaker, like, when did Paul know Spanish? Paul expressing he's not a fan of Penta's Cero Miedo sign, but that was funny. That was a fun promo. Later one night, we had Braun Breaker against Sami Zayn. Of course, Zayn was once again attacked by Karrion Kross with the steel pipe. Braun Breaker ends up running right through him. Apparently, Zayn is now out indefinitely. Then Bronson Reed threw a chair at Jey Uso and then hits him with a tsunami. 2 tsunamis. So it looks like Jey Uso might be out of commission now. And then other stuff that happened, we had Kairi Sane defeat Roxanne Perez. When Raquel and Roxanne attacked Kairi after the match. Asuka came out, her former tag team partner, the Kabuki Warriors, are back together. And then they will be in the Fatal 4-Way women's tag match at Evolution this Sunday. Raquel and Roxanne will defend it against the Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, new form team. And then from SmackDown and then an NXT tag team as well. And then Nikki Bella had a video saying she's going to be in the Battle Royal at Evolution. If we can get back to her full time, that would be absolutely outstanding. Then you had Lyra, Bayley, and Becky brawl with Lyra coming out on top. They have a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title at Evolution, which should definitely be an event. But the build for those events was horrible. I get they got screwed a little bit with Morgan getting hurt. That was going to be the match against Nikki Bella, which could have made evented, but this build's been terrible. Yeah, El Grande Americana, which is clearly Lobet Kaiser, defeated Dragon Lee. I don't know what we're doing with this character. It's so dumb. It's a Vince level character. Worst thing Triple H has ever done to me. I don't know what we're doing. I don't get it. He had Gunther come out and cut a promo. Then Goldberg shows up and he actually punched Gunther in the face and drops him. So, of course, we've had their world title match and Goldberg's retirement match at Saturday night's main event this Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern time in Goldberg's backyard in Atlanta. Another terrible booking of where they did that. And then the main event was Seth Rollins against Penta. Seth Rollins wins. He cheated a little bit, but then afterwards, LA Knight attacks him. And of course, they have a match at Saturday night's main event as well. So Saturday night's main event is going to be Rollins against LA Knights. Then we're going to have, of course, we're turning Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton. Then we have Gunther against Goldberg for the world title. Only 3 matches on the card right now. We'll see if anything else gets added on Friday. But that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.